Looks like Tanner Houck could be missing some serious time here, so how is that going to affect the Boston Red Sox? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin. First and foremost, happy Father's Day to all of the dads out there. Thank you for everything you do every single day. And a huge special shout out to my dad. He's on this channel all the time. You guys may remember him from some live streams and stuff like that. He's a huge supporter for everything I'm doing, and I wouldn't be here today without him. So thank you, Dad. I love you. Anyways, just a couple of hours ago, the Boston Red Sox gave some pretty big announcements on what Tanner Houck's status is. So what we're going to do in today's video is we are going to break down the latest injury update about Tanner Houck. We're going to talk about his official injury. We're going to talk about his recovery time, how much time he could possibly miss, and we're going to be talking about what this is going to do to the Boston Red Sox. But before we get into that, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Okay, so for those of you who may not have seen it yet, this was a really scary moment in Friday's game where a comebacker came right at Tanner Houck and struck him in the face at about 89.4 miles an hour. Tanner Houck did go down immediately, but was able to walk off the field on his own, even giving the sort of hand up motion to the crowd and to his teammates. Alex Cora said after the game that Houck was alert and he was conscious and he was able to conjugate thoughts and stuff like that, so that's good news. After the game, the Red Sox announced that he at that point had a facial contusion, which is basically a big bruise right on the side of his face. Now, obviously, there was going to be further testing, but that is good news right off the bat that it wasn't a concussion. There wasn't anything wrong with his eye. Yesterday, we found out that he had gone through further testing and that he had a facial fracture. Today, the Boston Red Sox officially put him on the 15-day IL. Again, Tanner Houck is one tough dude. To get that off the face and to walk yourself off the field is really, really impressive. The fact that it wasn't anything more serious is absolutely fantastic for Tanner Houck, right? There could have been some concussion issues. There could have been some eye issues. There could have needed surgery or facial reconstruction and stuff like that. So honestly, a facial fracture is really great news as a person for Tanner Houck, right? It's not best case scenario, but it's not worst case scenario for something like that. So as a person-to-person basis, this is really good for Tanner Houck. I mean, it's not good, but it's best case of a worst case scenario. 2, I'm pretty confident that Tanner Houck's going to be out more than 15 days. I couldn't get an exact timeline as to what the recovery looks like because everything I could find online was about contact sports, and obviously baseball, especially as a pitcher, isn't exactly a big contact sport, but it is legal for the Boston Red Sox and for Tanner Houck to wear a protective facial mask on the mound. So I'm guessing we're probably looking at a month minimum before we start hearing rumors of Tanner Houck getting ready and back to go, especially if he's allowed to use that facial protection mask. Maybe that's something that the Red Sox think about and Tanner Houck thinks about that may help him get back sooner, but it's definitely not going to be just 15 days to get him back from the IL. You're probably looking at the bare minimum, a month, maybe even 2 months at that point, depending on how that bone heals in his face is going to be obviously the biggest factor as to how long Tanner Houck's going to be out, but for right now, it is the 15-day IL, which for the Red Sox is a pretty big loss. The Red Sox really did not need another injury to this rotation. Houck currently had a 5.05 ERA with a much lower 4.21 FIP and a 91 ERA plus. I think his ERA is a bit deceptive because he always has one rough inning, but overall, I think Tanner Houck's been really solid for the Red Sox in the rotation so far this year, and I think when you're looking at his numbers, that 4.21 FIP feels more like what Tanner Houck has been able to do this year, and I think that ERA is a little bit inflated. So obviously this is going to affect the rotation in a negative way. Tanner Houck had been doing well enough to beat out both Nick Pivetta and Corey Kluber for spots in the rotation, and he was really looking like he was settling into his starter role and starting to figure out how to get through those middle innings. He was really on pace to really start turning his season around. Obviously this is going to affect the Red Sox in a negative way, but how do they go about fixing that? What do they do in the meantime before Tanner Houck comes back? in my opinion, the Red Sox do have a couple of options to fill the hole in the rotation that is going to be Tanner Houck for a little bit. I think the first one is Corey Kluber, right? Corey Kluber isn't going to affect the bullpen in a negative way. He hasn't been doing great out of the bullpen, so it's not like losing him is going to be a problem in the bullpen, but he has been a terrible starter this year, one of the worst in baseball, so there's that to keep in mind. The second one is putting Nick Pivetta back into the rotation, who, again, hasn't been a very good starter so far this year, and on top of that, too, he has had a bit of a resurgence in the bullpen a bit. He's had a couple of rough outings, but overall, I think he's been pretty solid out of the bullpen, so it may actually harm the bullpen taking Nick Pivetta out, so that's option number 2. Option number 3 is sort of what they're doing today, right? They recalled Caleb Ort from AAA Worcester. We're not going to spend too much time talking about how he's going to affect the Boston Red Sox, but either way, he's getting the opening start for the Red Sox in this doubleheader today. So going forward, depending on how long Tanner Houck's going to be out, the Red Sox could elect to do that. They could elect to have a spot starter come up once in a while, or they could have an opener in the absence of Tanner Houck, which in my opinion is the third option. Now, I don't really think that they're going to end up calling anyone up from AAA to fill Tanner Houck's role in this rotation, mostly because they don't have a ton of great options in AAA right now. You do have some intriguing options like Rio Gomez and Shane Drohan, but those guys have not spent a significant amount of time in AAA yet. I don't know if the Red Sox would be willing to push them up to the major leagues if they haven't really been able to figure out AAA just yet. Everyone else is sort of right? Again, you could call one of these guys who's already on the 40-man roster and in the AAA rotation up to make a spot start here or there, but I don't think we're going to see a significant call up. For those of you who are wondering if it'll be Chris Murphy, probably not, right? Chris Murphy, one with the Red Sox, was used in a bullpen role, and since going down back to Worcester, he has stayed in that bullpen role, so I don't think the Red Sox are willing to use him as a starter going forward, at least not in this absence of Tanner Houck. Maybe we do see Chris Murphy up for an extended period of time as maybe an opener or a long relief option to follow an opener. That's a possibility, but I don't think they're going to call him up to be a starter for the Red Sox, even though they did call him up to join the 27-man roster for the doubleheader today. So he is currently on the Red Sox roster, but it's just because they're playing a doubleheader, not because he's filling the place of Tanner Houck. So 3 options, right? Either Corey Kluber, Nick Pivetta, or an opener / spot starter. Now, in my opinion, I don't think we're going to see an opener just because I think that would have a really big negative effect on the Red Sox bullpen, right? If you have to have a guy go 2-3 innings every single 5 days, you're going to be taking someone effectively out of the bullpen every 5 days, and you already have Cutter in the rotation, and Josh Winkowski is too big to this bullpen to go longer than 2-3 innings every 5 days. You kind of need him more than that. So in my opinion, you're probably not going with an opener / starter, which leaves either pulling Corey Kluber or Nick Pivetta out of the bullpen. Now, I know people aren't going to be very happy about this, but my guess is that the Red Sox go with Corey Kluber. And my reasoning for that is because it's not going to have as negative effect on the bullpen as it's going to have if you pull out Nick Pivetta, right? Because Nick Pivetta, like I said, has had a couple of rough outings out of the bullpen, but overall, he's been fairly solid for the Red Sox and has actually filled a decent role in the bullpen. Corey Kluber's given you essentially nothing, right? He had that really terrible start in Cleveland, and he's looked okay out of the bullpen past that, but he hasn't been anything special. Pulling Kluber out of the bullpen and back into a starter role may be the smartest move for the Red Sox, depending on how long Tanner Houck's out, right? If the Red Sox realize Tanner Houck's going to be out for a couple of months, maybe then, yeah, you try and go Nick Pivetta, or maybe you do try and call someone up from AAA. But if it's only going to be a month and a half, maybe you do give it to Corey Kluber and say, look, Kluber, this is what you're going to get. We're going to try you out one more time in the rotation, and maybe if he's still terrible at the end and Tanner Houck does come back within a reasonable amount of time, we do see that final DFA of Corey Kluber. So in my opinion, I think the Red Sox solution to this problem will be to have Corey Kluber start in this rotation, but that's just my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think? What did you think of the latest update of Tanner Houck? What do you think the Red Sox solution to that's going to be? And 3, just out of curiosity, what do you think about Caleb Ort getting a opener start in this doubleheader series? Let me know all your thoughts on the latest Red Sox injury update in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. One more special Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, and specifically my dad as well. Thank you for everything you do, and I will see you in the red seats.